Hero's Journey.
All right, we're here to talk about this Starfall hilt. This is called the Remembrance. And so this is a custom commission from a return client of Nick's as well as mine. So let's hop down to the table. Let's show off the hilt a little bit. Let's go over what went on with the install, chassis electronics, some features, some button commands. We'll hop back out. I'll show off a few presets, blade styles, etc., and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. All right, so let's talk about this Starfall Remembrance hilt. This was sent to me for an install from a repeat client of Nick's at Starfall Sabers. I did, of course, provide Nick with this etched shroud. Not that really has any bearing on the relationship between the client and them, but they decided to work on this dark side, well, High Republic-ish. I'm not really sure what all went into the instructions, but a lot of cool features. We've got an exposed grill. I've got a Shtok rotary PCB up top that will help animate that. There is an exposed crystal here, which we'll show in just a second. But yeah, some really cool features here. So this did come with a blade plug. I went ahead and put a little bit of an extension on that with a clear piece of 7/8 blade stock, just so that you can put the blade up against the PCB emitter holder. You just, drop that in without any thought. Otherwise, you'd kind of have to hold it for a second and then do your blade set screw. So this is the provided cool looking little blade plug. So we'll set that aside. We got a Shtok V3 emitter. So this is just going to mimic what the blade does. There's no special features here. We've got a 12 millimeter KR duo switch. Top will be your main, bottom will be your aux. So this is just kind of press fit into this box. There is a set screw underneath the box that holds the emitter PCB assembly. And then we've got all the switch wires coming through the crystal chamber. So to get to it, we want to undo our grip set screw. Now, thankfully, this and the hidden set screw are a different size Allen key. So the provided Allen key won't work for it, but just know, never mess with that. And then you'll never really have to mess with this unless something happens with the thing down the line and it requires repair. But just before we take the grip off, let's appreciate the all the appointments Nick put on this. And then, of course, the Mortis Gods etch that I did for Nick. I've been doing this quite a bit for other clients on like a KR Regis or things like that. Yeah, so I'm going to take the grip off here with the set screw. And you'll just see that everything, aligns up. Technically, you could put this on the other side, but it'll just make more sense to put that there. So we'll set this off to the side. So we've got a resin greeblie chassis that I designed previously for a set. So this is number one. I developed this for Mystery Saber 175, I believe. There were 4 Mystery Sabers, so I kind of came up with 4 unique ideas for how to do some of this standard press fit chassis design for a Proffie with a kill switch, a 28 millimeter KR bass speaker, and then a variety of. This particular has dual 2020 pixel strips and dual miniature Edison filaments underneath this grill. And then, of course, this is painted sort of a copper. I don't really have a copper that matches this hue. So I did a mix of antique gold and Spanish copper to get close. It just kind of looks brown, but it looks better in person. And then I did some heat staining pigments on this baffled greeblie. So again, this baffle masks a 2020 pixel strip of 15 pixels with a mylar strip. And then we've got a crystal chamber, and underneath here is a Shadowfoil accent pixel with 15 neopixels underneath there. So plenty of shine through, but it also animates quite well. We do have a provided battery, but in the battery tray, we have the Starfall logo with the positive terminal clearly indicated. Of course, spring side's your negative. So when we get ready to put our battery in, we want to put the nipple against the nipple and the flat part to the spring, right? And then if we don't have our kill switch engaged, then we hit it to the left. So now you can see these. I chose the purple for this one just to mix it up. I've got a variety of colors, but in the past, I think I've done like blue or green. On the animated strips, I just did a plethora of different animation styles and colors, depending on which preset we're on. And so you can sort of see the neopixel accent ring there animating. And then in the off state, most of these are going to be like pulsing or breathing, but some of them may show off. But when we hit our power, you can sort of see what's going on there, but it's also getting kind of washed out with what's up above. But plenty of cool things that can be done. I think for the most part, these will always match the blade color for the Starfall font package. So that's 8 fonts and then an additional battery level indicator preset. When you're on that battery level indicator, I think I've turned the chassis pieces off, and then just the crystal and rotary will go from a green to a red, green being a good charge, red being a low charge. And then when the blade is in, you'll have a little bubble, and we'll show that later. So yeah, to go backwards to show that real quick, you can point the hilt down.
Battery level.
So now we're at the very last preset, and you can see the charge is pretty good. I want to say I did the Bendu voice pack for this one, since this is kind of a older, like more historic. So generally you'll only hear that if you do a battery test or a volume test. So in the off state, volume will be hold aux tap power.
Battery level 91%.
I think I may have said that backwards. So he says 91%, and then the volume would be hold power and tap aux.
Enter volume menu.
And then you can rotate.
Maximum volume.
And I
Exit volume menu.
usually just do one off the max. So this sounds really good with this 28 millimeter speaker because there's a good amount of resonance chamber here when we put this back on. But to go forward in fonts, we'll just hit
Starfall.
aux in the off state. So now we're at the top. I will go ahead and light this up, but I'll turn it muted. You can do a mute with a double tap, and that way I can talk over it. But now you can see the neopixel emitter lighting up like it should, and then the animations change a little bit. It's subtle to tell on camera, but these Edison filaments, when they're doing a blinking or a pulsing, or in the on state, I sometimes use audio flicker, and it will get brighter with like clashes. And it's hard to see that. Oops, I just turned it off. Okay, so now we're back up. So you can see the clash there. Or I should say blaster blocks with the aux button. So not everything is reactive, but for the most part it is. So if we just go ahead and click that back off and then advance forward. I'll just show a few more. So a lot of times I'll just animate the strip a different color than maybe what's going on with the crystal or the blade, just so we can get some variety here. Obviously with the purple filament, you know, get a little bit of variety there. Sorry, I'm off screen. So again, I started up muted. And you can see the animation going on in there. And then we'll... Now, if the crystal does look a little bit subtle, it's because I've changed it so that the rotary is like a single pixel going around or a few pixels. It's sometimes hard to see depending on the color. But
Hero's Journey.
But when we're ready, we can put the grip back on. Again, we'll just line up all of the set screws and then we'll cinch this down. Now, this is my Allen key, but there will be one provided for you of the same size in the box. And so now we can hit our power. So good, smooth swing. Again, you can see the rotary there. We do have gesture controls, so we have twist on and twist off. And then we have thrust on, which is kind of a forward or a pull, depending on. And then I may have turned swing on for this one as well. Yeah, I did. Okay. So I generally don't provide that with like fully removable chassis, but this one I did because it's set. So now for the most part, the blade plug will block a lot of the light, but you'll get maybe the tiniest bit of shine through. You can sort of see that. But so if you do leave it on the shelf to kind of display it, these accent pixels are on a timer for 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, they will turn off and you'll get into a sleep mode. Now, it's not a deep sleep, so it will drain the battery very subtly, but that is what the kill switch is for. So we can just hit the kill switch. All the lights go off. But if it does come off and you want to re-engage the lights, you just tap the power button and it'll wake it back up. So that's that. Anything I don't cover here will be on a printout for the customer that will go over the entire set of functions. This is sporting off OS 7.13 or 14. I forget which version we're on now. I think this one's 13. And the config is on the SD card. So should you want to do any future programming, you can just pull that off the SD card, save it to your computer. I highly suggest to every customer, once they receive the Saber, to go ahead and pull the SD card, back up all the font, back up everything exactly as it is, in case you make a change that you don't like and you don't know how to get it back. The printout will have some instructions for edit mode. I don't cover edit mode here in these demo videos because it's very lengthy, but you can use edit mode to copy presets, duplicate presets, change sound fonts, change colors, change styles. I do have more than the Starfall font package on the SD card. So if you wanted to do some exploration, you can mess around with that. There's some default Proffie fonts, there's some grayscale fonts, etc. But I do provide additional things, but they're not programmed into the config per se. So if you wanted to access them, you'd have to do that through edit mode. Or if you want to get into config building, you can learn how to do that on your own. So that'll cover it. When you're ready, you can just cinch everything up. And then I'm going to go ahead and show off a few more things with the blade in. This does take a 7/8 diameter blade. It's programmed currently for a 32-inch length. Let's wrap that up here. All right, so we showed off the chassis, the electronics. We showed off a few presets and a few button commands. But let's hop out here. Let's talk about what those are with the blade in so we can show off in a little bit more detail. Now, this does take a 7/8 inch diameter neopixel blade. I've got it programmed for a 32-inch blade length. It's the same setup I did previous to for this customer, and it's very typical of what we do for the Starfall installs. So again, to reiterate, this 12 millimeter duo switch, top is your main, bottom is your aux. So if we want to engage regular mode, we can just turn it on with the main button. I do have this on Ruin. So Ruin is the only Starfall preset that has a pre-on. So that can only happen when you do press the button. If you do a gesture control, you bypass it. But now we're in regular mode, which means that clash is just a clash, right? If we want to engage lockups in this mode, we need to hold either aux or power as we clash the saber. So I'll show that off real quick. Okay. For as long as I hold it, it'll occur. Now, if we use a gesture control, we don't have to do that. We can actually just wield it around. So again, gestures, I've got twist on, thrust on, and I think swing on this one. So now we're in battle mode. And if we clash the saber, we're in a lockup until we pull away from that position. Now for horizontal, we'll engage a melt. All right. You twist the color to change it up a little bit. The longer you hold it, the more animated it gets. Move it around a little bit, but if you pull away from that position, you'll disengage that lockup. Now, same thing goes for drag if we're pointing down. Right? Again, I can move it around a bit, but if I pull away, I disengage that lockup. Okay. So again, that's battle mode, right? If that's not how you prefer to use it, then you can always hit the button.
Reconcile.
So we'll show off another preset. Now I'm in regular mode. Got a yellow blade for this, and you can sort of see the animation there in the vents. For the most part, I match the vents, the crystal, and to be the same as the blade for each preset. I did a couple extra fonts, like a couple extra Proffie fonts and maybe a grayscale font so that you can see some other blade styles, and so that may not be true, 100% true for those. So if we want to start and stop the soundtrack, you can do that pointing up. We'll start the designated track. You just hold power for 2 seconds. Right? And same to turn it off. And you can do that with the blade ignited. I demonstrated that up top. But again, you have to be pointed up, and you can only do the designated track when the blade is on. But if you're in any other position, you'll do a force effect. Now for the Starfall font package, the force effects sometimes will be spoken word, so quotes. They're not called quotes like you would. So the file name is force.wave or force2 or force3.wave. But if you do add any other sound fonts in the future, you can have quote ability to switch back and forth between quote player versus force player. You'll point the hilt down and hold for a second. But let's just demonstrate that real quick. Again, any other position than vertical or pointing down, we'll do a force effect. And what you'll notice is I've also done it where the blade animates to an unstable blade style for as long as that sound effect plays. It's not going to go for like 30 or however many seconds. It's only as long as the sound is playing. Right? Now for this particular font, this is High Republic. I think it's just force effects. So it's just going to be that sound. Some of the other Starfall fonts, like the first 3 or so, all have quotes. So it may not do a force effect sound. So on Cornhorn, the only thing I want to demonstrate is the fact that the color change is called color change direct, and it goes between a white and regular, and then it will wipe to a purplish. And I do have that on the crystal chamber as well. Those will swap from white to purple, but all the other accents will stay the same. If you're on another preset like High Republic, you're gonna get into color change. Now the only caveat I want to mention is that all of the other accents pixels will change if you do this. So we hold aux and tap power. So you hear that little chime.
Red.
And the Bendu will tell you the name of the color.
Red.
You can hold a button and twist to get in between colors. It's hard to demonstrate, especially with this duo switch.
Dark orange.
But again, you'll notice that everything is changing along with it. I don't recommend that
Revert.
because I've done a lot to program each of the little individual pixel accents. So to revert, we hit aux. If that didn't bother you at all, then you just hit power. What I recommend with these high-end chassis that have a lot of pixels is to get into edit mode, and I'll have the printout that'll explain that. I don't go into that here, but you'll hold aux and power in the off state for 2 seconds. The blade will ignite. You'll get into the menu. What I have done to make it easy is the main blade is always the first, so you just navigate to change colors, blade 1, and then you can change colors there if that's all you want to do. If the rest of it doesn't bother you any because you're going to have the grip on and you just want to do it on the fly, the off colors will stay the same. Just the main blade color will change. So that's just something I like to mention. The only preset that has no effect on is Corn Horn. So that's that. Now, the very last preset is our battery level indicator. And I think I showed that down below. You'll see in the crystal chamber, the pixels go from green to red, but with the blade in, we'll have a little bubble. So let's get there real quick.
Battery level.
Okay, so now we're on battery level, and then you can see the little bubble. Again, this is programmed for 32-inch blade length for a 7/8 diameter blade. So if this was 100%, it would be all the way out to the tip. On any preset, we can get a percentage readout from the Bendu by holding aux and tapping power.
Battery level 87%.
And that's pretty well represented here. Now, that number could change if if certain colors or pixels are on. It's sort of an estimation of a live readout. So that being said,
Starfall.
that's going to cover, for the most part, all of the things that go on with this. This is a repeat customer, so anything that was true about the previous install is true about this install. The only difference is now you got a bunch more accents to see. So, have any questions to the customer, please email me. Otherwise, to the viewers at home just watching this for fun, I appreciate you sticking around. I know my videos can kind of ramble on. I cover a lot of the same things over and over, but a lot of the customers I do get are first-time customers, so I like to try to go through as much as possible. So appreciate your patience, and thanks for sticking around, and I hope you appreciate this to the customer. Had a good time doing it, and thanks.